The sky above the burning city was not natural. It was dark but not like night. It moved slowly like something alive. Glowing red lines spread across the clouds, and the air felt heavy and strange. The human child ran through the broken streets, his small feet hitting the cold ground again and again. His breath was fast, his chest hurt. But he did not stop. He could not stop. Behind him, something was coming. Strange shadows moved between the tall alien buildings, long shapes with glowing eyes. Their sounds were not like animals, not like machines, something worse, something that did not belong to his world. The child looked back for a moment, his face full of fear, his eyes wet with tears. He tripped on a broken piece of metal and fell hard on the ground. For a second, everything went silent. Then the sound came closer, slow steps, heavy, controlled. The shadows were near now. The child tried to stand, his hands shaking, his knees weak. He whispered something in a soft, broken voice. But no one answered. He was alone. The wind moved through the empty streets, carrying the smell of smoke and something unknown, something alien. One of the creatures stepped into the light, its body tall and thin, its skin dark and shining, its eyes glowing like fire. It tilted its head as if studying the child. The child froze. He could not move. He could not even cry. Another creature appeared. Then another, slowly surrounding him. There was no escape. The first creature moved closer, raising its long arm, sharp and unnatural, ready to strike. And then everything changed. A loud sound cut through the air, fast and powerful. The creatures suddenly stepped back. A figure dropped from above, landing between the child and the monsters. It was an alien, but not like the others. She stood tall, her armor shining with blue light, her eyes focused and calm, her presence strong. She did not look at the child first. She looked at the creatures. For a moment, no one moved. Then she raised her weapon. A bright flash exploded in the dark street. The creatures attacked at once, moving fast, but she was faster. She fought like a storm, every move sharp and perfect. Light cutting through shadow, sound echoing through the empty city. The child watched in silence, his fears slowly turning into something else, something he did not understand. Hope, one by one. The creatures fell back, disappearing into the darkness. The street became quiet again. Alien warrior lowered her weapon slowly, her breathing steady, her body still strong. Then she turned. Her eyes met the child's eyes. The child stepped back a little, unsure, afraid again. He knew what aliens were. He knew they were dangerous. He knew they were not like him. She walked closer, slowly, carefully. The child wanted to run, but his legs would not move. She stopped just a few steps away, looking at him, studying him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then she did something no one expected. She lowered her weapon completely. Her voice was soft, but clear. "I will not hurt you," she said. The child blinked, confused. She knelt down slowly, bringing herself closer to his level. Her eyes were no longer cold. There was something else in them, something human. She reached out her hand, stopping in the air, waiting. The child looked at her hand, then at her face. His small fingers moved slowly, shaking, unsure. And then he touched her hand. In that moment, something changed, something bigger than rules, bigger than war. Far away, a loud alarm echoed through the city. Red lights flashed across the sky. Voices shouted in an alien language, sharp and urgent. The warrior looked up. Her expression changed. They were coming. She stood quickly, looking around, calculating. Then she looked back at the child. Her voice was low, almost a whisper. "I will break every law to keep you alive." Heavy footsteps filled the distance. More soldiers, more danger. The child did not understand her words, but he understood her tone, and for the first time since the chaos began, he was not alone. The red lights in the sky did not stop. They grew stronger, flashing again and again, turning the dark city into a place of fear and warning. The alien warrior stood still for a moment, her sharp eyes watching every direction. listening to the distant sounds of soldiers moving closer. The human child stayed near her, his small body shaking, his hand still holding a piece of her armor. As if letting go would bring the monsters back, she looked down at him, her face calm but her mind moving fast. This was wrong. Everything about this moment was against the laws of her world. Humans were not allowed to exist here. Humans were enemies, weak, dangerous, unpredictable. That was what she was taught since the beginning. That was what every soldier believed, and yet, this child did not look dangerous. He looked lost, afraid, alone. The sound of heavy boots echoed through the broken streets, getting closer with every second. She knew who they were, elite hunters, sent to remove any threat, sent to kill anything not approved by the system, including this child. Her grip on her weapon tightened. Her duty was clear: report the human. Step back. Let the hunters finish the mission. That was the rule. That was the order. But her body did not move. Instead, she looked at the child again. He was staring at her, his eyes full of trust. Even after everything, even after seeing what her kind could do, he did not run from her. He did not scream. He simply stood there, waiting. That made something inside her feel different, something she could not explain. The sound of voices came closer now, loud and sharp. Target detected, one voice said in the distance. Non-native life form confirmed, another followed. The child flinched at the sound, moving closer to her leg, hiding behind her. That small action broke something inside her. A rule, a wall, a belief. She made her decision, quick, final, dangerous. She reached down and gently took the child's hand. Stay close, she said quietly. He did not understand the words, but he understood her tone. He nodded, small and quick. The soldiers turned into the street, their armor dark, their weapons ready, their eyes scanning everything. One of them pointed forward. There, he said. They had seen them. The warrior stepped forward, placing herself between the soldiers and the child. Her voice was calm, controlled. Area clear, she said. The soldiers stopped, confused. Their leader stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. Scanner shows human presence, he said. She did not move. Scanner error, she replied. Silence filled the air for a moment. The tension grew heavy. The child held her hand tighter, his fingers cold and small. The leader raised his weapon slightly. Not aiming yet, but ready. Step aside, he ordered. Her heart rate increased, but her face stayed calm. No threat here, she said again. The soldiers looked at each other, unsure. Something was wrong. Something did not match. The leader activated his scanner again, a soft light passing through the area. The light moved closer, closer to the child. The warrior acted fast. She stepped forward, blocking the scan, her armor reflecting the signal interference. She said. The leader's suspicion grew. He took another step. Move, he said. Stronger this time. Behind her, the child made a small sound, almost like a cry. That was enough. The moment broke. The truth was clear. The leader's weapon lifted. Aiming now, traitor, he said coldly. Everything happened at once. The warrior pushed the child behind her, her weapon rising in one smooth motion. A bright flash filled the street. The soldiers reacted, firing back. Energy blasts cut through the air, hitting walls, breaking metal, lighting the darkness with sharp bursts. She moved fast, grabbing the child and running toward a narrow path between buildings. Stop her! Voices shouted behind them. Footsteps followed, loud and many. The chase had begun. The child held onto her tightly, his face pressed against her armor, his eyes closed. She did not slow down. She knew every path, every hidden turn, every broken road. But the hunters were trained. They would not stop. They would not give up. And now, she was no longer one of them. She had crossed the line, broken the law, chosen the human child. Far above, more ships appeared in the sky, their lights cutting through the darkness, searching, watching, hunting. The city was no longer just a battlefield. It was now a prison, and she was running out of time. She looked down at the child for a brief second. His eyes opened slowly, looking up at her. Still afraid, but still trusting. That made her run faster because now, this was not just a mission. This was a promise, and she would not break it. The city slowly grew quiet again, but it was not a peaceful silence. It was the silence of fear, of something watching from far away. Waiting for the right moment, the alien warrior did not stop running until the lights of the main streets were far behind them. She moved through narrow paths, broken tunnels, and dark corners where no patrols usually came. The human child stayed close to her, holding onto her arm, his breathing still fast, his body still shaking. Finally, she stopped in front of a hidden metal door, half covered with dust and broken wires. She looked around one last time, then placed her hand on a small panel. A soft blue light scanned her. The door opened slowly, making a low sound. She quickly pulled the child inside, and the door closed behind them. Inside, the place was small but safe. Dim lights glowed softly on the walls. Strange tools and machines filled the room, and the air felt calm compared to the chaos outside. This was her private space, a hidden lab where no one came without permission. For the first time since the chase began, she lowered her weapon completely. The child let go of her arm and looked around, his eyes wide with curiosity and fear. Everything here was new to him. Strange shapes, glowing screens, soft humming sounds. He took a small step forward, then another, slowly exploring. The warrior watched him carefully, still alert, still thinking. She had done something irreversible. There was no going back now. The system would mark her as a traitor soon. Search units would increase. Scanners would become stronger. And if they found this place, everything would end. She looked at the child again. He was touching a small light panel, his face calm for the first time. That calm feeling spread into the room, changing the air. She did not understand it, but she did not stop it either. She walked to a storage unit and opened it, taking out a small container. Inside was nutrient fluid, not made for humans, but it was the closest thing she had. She kneeled down and carefully offered it to the child. He looked at it, unsure, then looked at her. She nodded slowly, showing him it was safe. He took it with both hands, his fingers still shaking a little. He drank slowly, then faster. Hunger had been stronger than fear. When he finished, he looked up at her again. His eyes were different now. Less afraid, more curious. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Two beings from different worlds, connected by something neither of them fully understood. The child moved closer, step by step. Then he did something unexpected. He reached out and touched her hand again. This time he did not hesitate. His small fingers wrapped around hers, warm, soft, alive. The warrior froze for a second. No one had touched her like that before. Not with trust, not without fear. Her kind did not show affection like this. But she did not pull her hand away. Instead, she allowed it. The child smiled a little. A small, weak smile, but real. Then he spoke, his voice quiet and broken. Ma. The sound was soft, almost like a whisper, but it hit her harder than any weapon. She did not understand the word fully, but she understood the feeling behind it. Something inside her changed again. Deeper this time, something stronger than duty. Stronger than fear. She looked away for a moment, trying to focus, trying to stay in control. But it was already too late. She had chosen this path outside. The search continued. Large scanners moved across the city, sending waves of energy through walls, through metal, through hidden spaces, looking for one thing: the human child inside. The lab, a small warning light blinked softly. The warrior noticed it immediately. Her body became alert again. She walked to the main console and checked the readings. A scanning wave was approaching. Strong, advanced, hard to block if it reached them. They would be found. She moved quickly, activating shielding systems, adjusting energy fields, trying to hide their presence. The child watched her, not understanding, but feeling the tension. The room grew quiet again. Only the sound of the system. Running could be heard. Seconds felt longer, heavier. The scanning wave reached the building. A soft pulse passed through the walls, through the floor, through everything. The lights flickered for a moment. The warrior held her breath, her eyes fixed. On the screen, the signal moved across the room, slow and searching. Closer. Closer, then. It paused right on their location. The system made a low warning sound. The shield was not perfect. It was weakening. The signal was starting to break through. The warrior's expression changed. This was bad, very bad. She looked at the child he was. Staring at her, silent, waiting, trusting. She made another decision, another dangerous one. She turned off the main lights, making the room darker, quieter. Then she moved toward a hidden compartment in the wall, opening it quickly. Inside was a small space, just enough to hide the child. She knelt down and gently guided him inside. "Stay here," she said softly. He did not understand the words, but he understood her tone again. He nodded slowly. Before closing the compartment, she paused for a second. Their eyes met once more, and in that moment, the bond between them became stronger than ever. She closed the panel carefully, hiding him completely. Then she stood up and turned toward the door, her weapon ready again, because now the hunters were very close. The warning signal inside the lab did not stop. It blinked faster now, red light filling the dark room again and again. The alien warrior stood near the door, her weapon ready, her body still, her mind focused outside. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the metal corridors. Slow, controlled, dangerous. They were close now, very close. The scanning wave had exposed something, maybe not everything, but enough to bring them here. Inside the hidden compartment, the human child stayed silent, his small hands covering his mouth, his heart beating fast. He could hear the sounds too, even through the walls. He was afraid again. But he remembered her eyes, her voice, her promise. So he stayed still, just like she wanted. The warrior moved quickly across the room, shutting down unnecessary systems, reducing energy signals, making the place look empty, unused, forgotten. She checked her weapon, full charge, ready for combat. Her breathing slowed down, controlled, steady. This was not her first battle, but this time it was different. This time, she was not fighting for her world. She was fighting against it. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Silence followed, heavy and tense. Then a loud knock hit the metal surface, sharp and commanding. "Open." A voice said from outside, cold and firm. She did not move. Another knock came, stronger this time, by order of the high command. "Open this door," the voice repeated. She walked slowly toward the control panel, her face calm, her eyes empty of emotion. For a moment, she closed her eyes. One last chance to go back. One last chance to follow the rules. But she did not take it. She opened the door. The metal slid aside with a low sound, revealing 3 armored soldiers standing outside, their weapons ready, their eyes sharp. At the front stood the leader, taller, stronger, his presence heavy. He stepped inside without waiting, scanning the room quickly. His eyes stopped on her. "You were seen near the target zone," he said. Her voice remained steady. "I completed my patrol," she replied. The other soldiers moved around, checking corners, scanning walls, searching for any sign of hidden life. The leader walked closer to her, his gaze intense. "Our systems detected a human life form," he said slowly. She did not react. "Scanners fail in damaged sectors." She answered. He studied her face carefully, looking for any sign of fear, any sign of a lie. But she showed nothing. Behind the wall, the child tried not to move, not to breathe too loud. His small body pressed into the hidden space. The sound of footsteps inside the room made his heart race. One of the soldiers stopped near the wall, right where the compartment was hidden. He activated his scanner, a soft light moving across the surface. The warrior noticed immediately. Her hand tightened slightly around her weapon. The scan moved slowly, getting closer to the exact point. Closer. Closer. Then suddenly, the warrior spoke, breaking the silence. "There is radiation leakage in this sector," she said. The soldier paused. Looking at her. "Old system damage," she continued. "It interferes with scanning signals." The leader looked at his soldier, then back at her. "Continue," he ordered. The soldier hesitated for a second, then moved away, scanning another part of the room. Inside the compartment, the child closed his eyes tightly. He did not understand the words, but he felt the danger. The room stayed tense, every second heavy, every movement watched. Then the leader stepped even closer to her. "So you saw nothing," he said. Her answer was simple. "Yes." Silence again then. A small sound broke it, very soft, almost nothing, but enough. Inside the compartment, the child shifted slightly, his foot touching the metal wall. A tiny sound, but in a quiet room. It was loud. The soldier near the wall turned instantly. "Movement," he said. Everything changed in that moment. The leader raised his weapon, aiming directly at the wall. The warrior moved faster than thought. Her weapon came up, energy flashing bright. A powerful shot hit the soldier's weapon, knocking it away. Chaos exploded in the room. The other soldiers reacted instantly, firing back. Energy blasts filled the space, hitting walls, breaking equipment, sending sparks into the air. The warrior jumped forward, blocking the path to the hidden compartment, her movements sharp and precise. She fought with full force now. No more hiding, no more lies. She was exposed. A traitor, an enemy. The leader shouted commands, his voice loud and angry. "Take her down." But she did not fall back. She pushed forward, using speed and skill, keeping them away from the wall, protecting the one thing that mattered now. The child inside the compartment covered his ears, his body shaking. The sounds were too loud. Too close, too dangerous. The fight grew more intense. One soldier fell. Then another was pushed back. But the leader remained strong, moving closer, breaking through her defense. He was powerful, trained, relentless. Their weapons clashed in a bright flash of energy. For a second, they stood face to face. "You chose a human over your own kind," he said. Her answer came without hesitation. "Yes." That single word carried everything. Her choice, her defiance, her truth. The leader's eyes hardened. "Then you will fall with it," he said. The battle was not over, and outside, more soldiers were arriving. The fight inside the lab was no longer controlled. It had turned into pure survival. Energy blasts flashed across the room, hitting walls, breaking machines, sending sparks into the air. The alien warrior moved quickly, her body reacting before thought, blocking attacks, striking back, protecting the hidden wall behind her. But the enemy was not weak. The leader stepped forward again, stronger than before, his weapon glowing brighter, his attacks faster, more precise. "You cannot win," he said, his voice cold. She did not answer. She did not need to. For her, this was no longer about winning. It was about time to protect the child. Time to find a way out, behind the wall. The human child could not stay still anymore. The sounds were too loud, the fear too strong. He pushed against the hidden panel slightly, trying to see, trying to understand. A small gap opened, just enough for him to look outside. What he saw made his eyes widen with fear. Fire, light, movement, danger everywhere, and her, fighting alone against many. Something inside him broke. He could not stay hidden. He could not leave her alone. The warrior saw the small movement from the corner of her eye. Her heart dropped for a moment. No, this was not the plan, but it was too late. The leader noticed it too. His eyes shifted toward the wall. A slow, dangerous smile appeared on his face. "So it is true," he said. With a quick motion, he changed his aim, pointing directly at the hidden compartment. The warrior reacted instantly. She jumped forward, placing herself in front of the shot. A bright blast hit her armor, pushing her back hard. She crashed into the floor, the impact heavy, the pain sharp. The child gasped. his small hands gripping the edge of the panel. The wall was no longer safe. The leader stepped closer, his weapon ready again. "Step aside," he said. The warrior slowly stood up her. Movements slower now, her armor damaged, small sparks flickering from the impact point, but her eyes were still strong. Still unbroken, she raised her weapon again, even if her body was hurting. "No," she said. The word was quiet, but powerful. The room fell into a brief silence. Then everything exploded again. She fired first, a fast, precise shot that forced the leader to move back. At the same time, she turned slightly, shouting toward the child, "Run!" The child did not understand the word, but he understood her voice, urgent, strong, commanding. He pushed the panel open fully and stumbled out, his legs weak but moving. The soldiers saw him clearly now, the target, the reason for everything. Capture the human. One of them shouted. The warrior moved faster than before, blocking their path, attacking with everything she had left. She grabbed the child's hand with her free arm and pulled him toward a side exit. Hidden behind broken equipment, the door was small, almost invisible. She activated it quickly. It opened into a narrow escape tunnel. Dark and tight. "Go," she said again, pushing him inside. The child hesitated for a second, looking back at her, his eyes full of fear. He did not want to leave her. But the sounds behind them were getting closer, louder, more dangerous. He stepped into the tunnel. Slowly at first, then faster, she followed right behind him, closing the door as energy blasts hit the wall around them. The tunnel was dark, only small lights guiding the path. They ran together, her steps strong but slightly uneven now, his small feet struggling to keep up. Behind them, the sound of metal breaking echoed. The soldiers were coming through. They will not stop, she thought. They will chase us to the end. The tunnel turned sharply, leading deeper underground away from the main city, but also away from safety. This path was not meant for escape. It was old, unstable, forgotten. The child stumbled and almost fell, but she caught him quickly, lifting him for a moment before placing him back down. "Keep moving," she said softly. Her voice had changed now, less like a soldier, more like something else, something warmer. The child looked up at her, his breathing heavy. "Don't leave me," he said in broken words. She froze for a fraction of a second. Those words, they hit deeper than anything before. She shook her head slightly. "I won't," she answered, even if he could not fully understand, and she meant it, even if it cost everything. The tunnel began to shake slightly, small pieces of metal falling. From above, the structure was not stable anymore. The battle had damaged it. Time was running out ahead. A faint light appeared, an exit, a chance, but also a risk. She slowed down slightly, her eyes scanning the area, her mind calculating again, because outside that exit, the real danger was waiting. The faint light at the end of the tunnel grew stronger, but it did not feel like safety. It felt like the final step before something unknown. The alien warrior slowed down as they got closer, her sharp eyes scanning the exit, her mind calculating every possible danger waiting outside. The human child stayed close to her, holding her hand tightly, his small fingers shaking but refusing to let go. Behind them, the tunnel shook again, louder this time. The sound of metal breaking echoed through the narrow space. The hunters were still coming, closer with every second. There was no time left. They reached the end of the tunnel. The exit opened into a wide-open field outside the city, dark ground, stretching far into the distance. Broken structures scattered everywhere and above. The sky was filled with patrol ships, their lights moving slowly, searching, watching. There was no easy escape. The warrior stepped out first, pulling the child with her, her weapon raised, her body tense. Cold wind moved across the empty land, carrying dust and silence. For a moment, everything seemed still, too still. Then her eyes caught something, movement in the sky. A small transport unit, hidden between larger ships, moving slowly toward the outer zone, an escape route. a chance. But only for one. She understood it immediately. The distance was too far, the patrols too many. She could not protect the child all the way there while being hunted. Her body was already damaged, her energy low. If they stayed together, they would both be captured, or worse. She looked down at the child. He looked back at her, his eyes full of trust. The same trust that had followed her from the beginning. That trust made the decision harder, but also clearer. She knelt down in front of him. Placing her hands on his shoulders, he tilted his head slightly, not understanding, but feeling the change. Her voice was softer now, slower. "You have to go," she said. He shook his head quickly. "No." The word was small, broken, but strong. He held onto her arm tighter. "Together," he added. Her chest tightened. For a moment, she wanted to ignore everything, to run with him, to try anyway, but she knew the truth. She had seen too many battles, too many endings. This path had only one chance, and it was not hers. The sound of engines grew louder. Ships were moving closer. Searchlights began to scan the ground. They had been found. She stood up quickly, pulling the child with her, moving toward a hidden structure nearby. Half buried under dust and metal, inside, a small escape pod was still active. Old but functional, she activated it fast. Her hands moving with precision. Lights turned on. Systems began to wake. The child watched her, confusion and fear mixing in his eyes. "What are you doing?" he asked softly. She looked at him one last time, her expression calm, but her eyes carrying something deep, something heavy. "Saving you," she answered. Before he could react, she gently pushed him inside the pod. He tried to move back to reach her, but the small space held him in place. "No, no," he said, his voice shaking now. He reached out his hand toward her, just like before, the same small hand. Full of trust, full of fear, this time. She took it for a moment, holding it tightly, as if trying to remember it, then slowly she let go. The door of the pod began to close. "No," the child cried, hitting the inside. "Don't leave me." Her hand stayed on the outside of the door. For a second longer, her voice came one last time, soft but clear. "Live," she said. The door sealed completely. The pod lifted slightly from the ground, engines powering up. Around them, soldiers appeared at the edge of the field, weapons ready. "Stop that pod," a voice shouted. Energy blasts fired toward it. The warrior turned instantly, placing herself between the attacks and the pod. Her weapon fired back, blocking, deflecting. Buying seconds, just a few more seconds, the pod shot upward, fast and bright, escaping into the dark sky, away from the battlefield. Away from danger, away from her. She watched it go for a brief moment, then turned back to face what was coming. Dozens of soldiers now, surrounding her from all sides. Weapons aimed, no escape left. Her armor was damaged, her energy almost gone, but she stood tall, strong, unafraid, because she had done what she needed to do. The leader stepped forward again, his weapon ready. "It is over," he said. She did not lower her weapon. "No," she replied quietly. "It is not." She took one step forward, then another. Even now, even at the end, she chose to fight. Many years had passed, but the memory of that night never faded. It stayed alive, strong and clear, like a light that refused to go out. The human child was no longer a child. He had grown into a young man, tall, calm, with eyes that carried both pain and strength. He lived on Earth now, a world very different from the one he escaped, a world full of life, noise, and people who had never seen what he had seen. But he remembered everything. The burning city, the shadows, the fear, and her. The alien who broke every rule, the one who chose him, the one who saved him. People often asked him about that day, about how he survived, about how he returned from a place no human should ever be. At first he said very little. Some stories are too heavy to speak. Some memories hurt too much to share. But over time, he understood something important. Her story should not be hidden. Her sacrifice should not be forgotten. So one day, he stood in front of a group of people, leaders, scientists, soldiers, all waiting to hear his words. The room was quiet, filled with attention and curiosity. He took a slow breath. His hands steady, his voice calm. I was not saved by my own kind, he began. Soft whispers moved through the crowd. I was saved by someone who was supposed to be my enemy. The room became even more silent, he continued, his voice stronger now. She found me when I was alone, when I was afraid, when I had nothing left. Images filled his mind as he spoke. Clear and sharp, the way she stood between him and danger, the way she held his hand, the way she said she would protect him. She did not see me as a threat, he said. She saw me as a life worth saving. Some people in the room lowered their heads, thinking, feeling the weight of his words. She fought her own people for me, he continued. She lost everything for me. His voice slowed for a moment, but it did not break. He was strong now, just like she was. She sent me away, so I could live. The room stayed silent, no one interrupting, no one moving. They could feel the truth in his voice. They could see the story in his eyes. I do not know if she survived, he said softly. But I know this. He paused, looking around the room, making sure every person heard him. She gave me a future. Outside, the sky was clear, peaceful. Nothing like the one he remembered, but inside him, that memory still lived. Strong, powerful, unforgotten. He stepped back slightly, then spoke his final words. She broke every rule, just to keep me alive. The silence that followed was deep, not empty, but full of meaning, full of respect, full of something new, understanding. For the first time, many of those people began to question what they believed about enemies, about war, about what it meant to be human, because sometimes humanity is not about where you are born. Sometimes it is about what you choose days later. His story spread across the world, across systems, across stars. It reached places far beyond Earth, even to the edges of the alien territories. Some listened in silence, some refused to believe, but some remembered. And somewhere in a distant part of the universe, among the cold stars and endless space, a quiet signal moved through the darkness. Old, damaged, but still active. A piece of forgotten technology, a small broken transmission. It carried a single line of data, repeating again and again, a message, a memory, a promise that was never truly lost. Back on Earth, the young man looked up at the night sky, his eyes searching the stars, not with sadness, but with hope, because deep inside, he felt something. Something small but real, that maybe, just maybe, she was still out there. And if she was, then one day he would find her.